to another episode of Tale of the Tape. I'm your host, Craig, with my co-host,
Mike Johnson.
And we're here for another week of MMA with a focus on UFC. So if you watched this past week, we had an event, a pay-per-view, with the headline being Thug Rose versus Jessica Andrade. So we're going to kind of go through the fights that happened and see what did go down. The first fight of the night was BJ Penn versus Guida, and I believe that ended in a decision with Guida taking the victory. Not going to lie, did not watch that fight. How about yourself, Mike?
Lackluster, two old guys probably shouldn't be fighting anymore,
Filling up the card, getting a paycheck.
Pretty much.
So, we love fights. We always want to see people fight, but some guys just...
They did seem to still be in some decent shape, so there's that,
They beat us up.
Right.
So there's that. But, Guida took home the victory as we both predicted, and I don't know if I was impressed by the fight. I don't know if seeing BJ Penn or Guida fighting gets me excited, but we did have a victory, and it did go to decision. So... on to a fight that was a little bit more exciting. We had Sergio Moraes versus Worley Alvarez. And the winner in that fight was Worley Alvarez by KO. And that fight, went to the end last minute. That was a pretty decent fight. Ended pretty awesome, did you?
Right, fight of the night, I believe.
Yes,
the
fight
big
of the
knockout.
Night. Yeah, flying knee to the face, combination punch with the uppercut of justice. That's what I like to call it.
It's definitely a special, combination there. Just happened to land for him, and we get a nice highlight out of it. It's good to see a fight of the night on, from not big names.
Yeah, and from an early fight,
right, early on, too.
It makes everything, when an early fight gives you some excitement, it kind of stretches out that card a little better.
Right, and they usually call the fight of the night pretty good, when it's a back-and-forth battle. And, yeah, that was good.
With a hell of a knockout.
Yeah.
And then on to the next fight is Thiago Moises versus Kurt Holub. I guess how you say it, Kurt Holub. That sound right?
That sounds about right. I don't really know him, so.
Yep. I don't know either one of these fighters. I did watch the fight. The fight was decent. I wasn't bored completely watching this fight. But Thiago Moises takes home the winner, the victory by decision. I like fights to go to decision when they're brutal.
Right.
But
like the other fight there, the fight of the night.
Yes.
That's a good decision. A decision's hard to get behind when two guys ain't doing as much as you'd like. But another filler fight, pretty much.
Exactly. Yeah, and and that's crazy. I was thinking about this. I'll bring it up now. Is that you can even see with us talking about we're avid UFC watchers,
right.
And there's so many fighters we don't know right now because they're just loaded now.
Every division is stacked with so many fighters, and you got so many coming every day that it's hard to keep track of a lot of them. And so many people making their debut on every event that you never heard of before.
And these dudes having 15-2 records, and it's this is the first time I'm seeing you
and
fight.
I've never seen him before. Or they'll say, he's got 5 wins in the UFC, and it's
when did you fight? And they a lot of them probably did fight in the whatchamacallit, the Fight Pass.
Right. There's a lot of different events going, with the ESPN, and
it's crazy.
So. Yeah, it makes room for a lot of fighters, and some of them fall by the wayside.
And I know you come, but even before this, but I came in when Chuck Liddell and Forrest Griffin and Rampage Jackson, and you probably knew every fighter.
Everybody in every division probably, because you probably had maybe 10 at the most that
So it's crazy to think where it's come.
Now you got guys ranked at 20, and there's somebody you should talk about.
And there's someone you should talk about. That's that blows my mind. How much talent is in the UFC, going from some of the guys who fought 10 years ago. Even if you put them at their best, wouldn't survive in the UFC right now.
Right, like, you know, the likes of BJ Penn or Clay Guida, you put them in with some of them younger guys that fought in the prelims, and it's bad news.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe even in their prime, the level of competition has gone up
exponentially.
You know,
and
so
it's like
much.
It's always been a sport. I would never ever take that away from UFC. It's always been a sport, and probably like the hardest sport ever, because it's, you know, truly you versus another person. Nobody's coming in to help you, but now it's like a legit like entity.
Oh yeah,
on its own now, and it's crazy.
At this level, everybody's good.
Yeah.
You get a contract from Dana White, and you're good.
Yeah.
Without a doubt. So, like I said, everybody has to be talked about, but you know, to shine amongst those people is something to be a top level is really top level these days.
Exactly. You know? And it's so great to be where we come from watching the sport, even more so for yourself, but like we got to watch it grow.
Oh yeah.
From, I know you remember 1 or 2 pay-per-views a year.
Oh yeah.
Now we get 1 a month plus fights in between.
Plus all the fight nights that have, you know, sometimes you got title defenses that are on fight nights. So
there's been fight nights better than pay-per-views.
Absolutely.
So I mean, this is an exciting time. Like if you're just now getting in UFC, you're spoiled. And if you've been watching this UFC for as long as we have, you know how great it's been to watch this sport grow. And I can't wait to see how much further it goes along.
Oh yeah. And then sometimes though you end up with, you know, like we say, a filler type of fight that, you know, might be lackluster going to decision. But I think that's more because of how spoiled we are with great competition that it seems lackluster to us, you know?
Yeah,
because
you're right.
They're great. They've made it to the big show, but...
Yeah, you didn't get signed to the UFC because you're an average fighter.
Right.
You got to sign to the UFC because you're part of a huge class of people who are the best in the world. And you're right, the level that we're spoiled at this point now makes us not appreciate some of the fights that are considered to be lesser.
And we're sorry, gentlemen.
We are
and
sorry.
Ladies.
We appreciate everything you do.
Keep fighting.
Because I'm not. I mean, he's done it, so he knows really.
As,
I've never done it, so I would never presume to lower your deserved respect.
Absolutely.
All right, moving on to another quick fight. Nog versus Span. And this was a fast one. I think it was within the first minute. Quick little knockout, Span and Nog. And I feel like that was expected.
I think so. I think everybody knew it was coming. I mean, both Nogueiras, I mean, towards the end of their careers, like their chin is, you know, not holding up. You get hit too many times, and they've taken a lot of punishment over their careers, even, you know,
and
little
withstood
Nog.
the punishment back in the day.
Yeah, absolutely. But, you know, it builds up. He's not young anymore. He's probably got 60 fights or more. Like, I mean, and all them fights in Brazil that he did before he was a big name. I mean, it's probably time.
Yeah, I agree. And like the thing is, like the Nog brothers, man, like in their prime, it was awesome to watch those guys fight.
Know, they'll be legends of the sport forever.
Yep, maybe even like some Hall of Fame status going on. But at this point, it's like, you know, there's always those fighters that you feel like just hung on a little bit too long. And I don't know if they're doing it for a paycheck or if they're doing it just because they don't know how to do anything else. Fighting is all they know,
Absolutely.
and they'd rather get beat up than not train and fight.
It's tough because then you're at least still getting paid.
Yeah.
And you're still living your gym life that you love, and you're still training to fight every day. So I mean, it's hard to give that up.
They need like a retired division.
Right.
Heavier gloves, maybe some headgear.
Maybe some shin pads.
Yeah.
45 years old plus, you know.
Just like low-level fights, you know. Maybe wins are only by submission, no knockouts. I don't know. But that might be cool just to see some old heads coming in for like some just like light fighting.
And you know, save them from too much brain damage late in their life.
Exactly, because you definitely don't want to see anything like that.
And it seems to be kind of a theme on this pay-per-view card of guys, you know, going past their
prime.
Yeah,
at least 3. All right, so now we move on to the main card, and I feel like, in my opinion, the main card was pretty stacked with fights.
Yeah.
I think like this was a heavy duty pay-per-view. Even though every fight didn't go the way you wanted it to, I felt like it was a pretty stacked card. So starting off the card, you have Beth Corrier versus Irene Aldana. And what'd you think about that fight?
I thought it was fantastic. Betch, as they pronounce her name, I guess.
Yeah, Betch. I always say, I feel like it's weird calling her Betch.
Right. Feels like you almost,
Yeah, exactly.
almost insulting her. But that is her name. And she got hands, we know that, and she was using them, landing well. And I give it to Aldana, though, hanging in there, trying to impress the ground game on her over and over. And she finally got there, you know?
Yeah, the thing I liked about the fight is it was like a true like it told a story. Like Betch came in and Aldana I feel like was getting the upper hand in the beginning of the fight, and then you saw Betch figure her out, and it was just like it wasn't she didn't figure out so much that she was dominating the fight, but I felt like she was gaining ground, and it looked as if her hands were going to take over that fight. And then as soon as she did it, as soon as I saw her go for the failed takedown attempt, I knew that she made a huge mistake.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that goes to show the talent of Aldana is that she capitalized on her mistake quickly, knowing
that it was her chance and she had to get it. I mean, it's a third round submission.
Exactly.
So and she was getting beat. There was maybe a choice of who won the first round, but Betch was putting it on her in the second.
And in the third, I think that Betch
absolutely was taking the third. I think
that Betch was taking the third, and so that to me that seems like a surprise. Unless she didn't believe she was winning the fight and didn't want to take a chance, so she thought getting a takedown would secure the victory. Yeah. But I felt like she had won the second, and was winning the third. If she would have just kept doing what she was doing, the fight could have been hers.
It could have been maybe some advice from the corner too. I mean, if he said, you're probably not going to put her away with strikes, but you're definitely winning, a takedown that adds a big thing on the scorecard, especially in the last round when it's indecisive. If you throw something different that they haven't seen all night into it, but
I'm glad you say that.
Definitely a bad idea.
I'm glad you say that. And being as a fighter, I've always found that weird, right? Is that I understand the significance of a takedown. If someone doesn't want to be brought into the ground and you forcibly take them there. But sometimes I feel like a single takedown carries more weight than it should carry.
I absolutely believe that too, because you'll score, it seems, way more than one landed strike gets you on the scorecard.
I feel like,
but I don't think it's really, unless you can increase your position and get some damage out of it, the takedown is really worth nothing.
Exactly. So because I feel like if a fighter punches another fighter, rocks him, he falls down, gets up, he's hurt, right? But besides that, the fight's even, and the other fighter takes down that fighter, the takedown's worth more than the rocking.
I believe the judges do score it like that when it's not right. Like I said, I think it's more akin to a setup punch. You know what I mean? You're not hurt unless you're hurt from a big slam. But if it's just a mediocre double leg takedown, it's not
and
right into someone's guard too.
It's not that epic. They just happen to get him down.
They just
to
happen to wrestle him down, and they end up in their guard, and they're not doing anything from there. So they got to look over what they score things too. Yeah.
And I feel like sometimes I feel like scoring. I feel like, I'm not a ref, and I don't necessarily. A judge, and I don't necessarily understand every aspect of the judgment. I do to a certain degree, because I can tell if someone's winning a round or not.
Oh, absolutely.
But sometimes I'm taken back by the judgment. Sometimes I feel like someone's winning because they might not have landed the most strikes, but they control the center of the octagon, and they're initiating the contact. And then sometimes those fighters end up losing, and I don't know. Decisions are weird sometimes.
Right. I think significant strikes is, more important than overall strikes, obviously. But when it comes to takedowns, I think there should be a gulf in that too. Significant takedowns compared to regular takedowns.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah, yeah.
Did that takedown get you in position for a ground and pound? Did it almost set up a submission? Was it a forceful slam that actually did damage to your opponent?
And I also feel like maybe, I mean, you can't invalidate a takedown, but maybe like significantly lessen the value of it if someone gets taken down and instantly comes back up.
Right.
You know, like I feel like you obviously can't take away because a takedown could be has a similarity to a strike.
Absolutely.
A strike still counts whether or not it hurt.
Right.
So shouldn't a takedown, but I feel like the significance of that takedown should be dramatically dropped if the person can instantly get back up.
I think it should be recorded differently, just like strikes, you know, significant takedowns compared to regular.
Yeah. And now another question is that, and I don't know if you'll know this, but is there points awarded to getting up?
I would think so. You're winning the grappling exchange, you know, at that point. Again, I'd have to. I'll actually look into that, and we could talk more about that next week.
I would like to do that
because
I would like to do that because I feel like a person like we named one of my favorite fighters, Derrick Lewis, when he decides it's time for him to get up, he gets up.
Absolutely, and that's a key skill.
Yeah.
You know, to not be. A lot of people can get taken down easy, but you know they stand up very easy too.
And they can't be held down.
Right.
And I think people underestimate how hard it is to get up when you're dealing with a wrestler.
Absolutely.
And that's not an easy feat.
And usually those are the scenarios because you can't stop that great wrestler from actually putting you down. But if you're good enough, you can spring right back up. And that should be awarded just as well. And
Conor McGregor can tell you best on how hard it is to get up when a wrestler brings you down.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because he was useless in his fight against Khabib. All right, so now we'll move on to the next fight. Alves versus Loreno Staropoli. This was a fight that went to the decision, and Loreno Staropoli won. I know I watched this fight, but I'm going to say this fight probably wasn't that great because I can't remember it.
It was a decision win. If the fight of the night, you know, was awarded there, then this would probably be the least of the night. Maybe if they could give an award for that. I mean, wasn't terrible. Alves veteran, you know. Staropoli, that was a good win in Brazil.
And
you
I
know,
think at
in
one
Alves's backyard. So that.
And I think at one point he did rock Alves. I think he had Alves on like the ropes at one point, but he managed to stay in the fight. I'm starting to remember a little bit more. So it wasn't the worst fight, but it definitely wasn't a fight that was
and Alves did his normal thing of putting, you know, power strikes together. Staropoli, you know, avoided good, but took some shots too and took them well. And, you know, just kind of outpointed him.
Yeah.
Nothing too significant.
The more we talk about it, I'm starting to remember. Alves didn't fare so terribly.
Right.
Actually, now that I remember it, he did have his moments in the fight, but I do believe that Loreno Staropoli, I think he did win a clear decision.
It was unanimous.
But I'll give it to Alves for as many fights as he's been in there. He held his own for a little bit. I'm starting to remember it. All right. We will move on from this fight, seeing as how there's not too much to talk about. We're going to go on to the Jose Aldo versus Alexander Volkanovski. And I was impressed by this fight, but since you called this correctly, I'm gonna head it off.
I think this was a huge fight for the night. I think it was maybe had the biggest indications, you know, going forward from here, because Volkanovski, I think this launches him. He won a great decision.
Yep.
And unanimous decision.
It puts him in contention.
I absolutely think it puts him, you know, I would rank him within maybe top 5 in that division. I think he'll be seeing Holloway soon, honestly.
Soon, I mean, it's got to be soon. And that's a type of fighter I would like to see him go up against.
Yeah, oh, yeah. As far as the fight breakdown, I'm always been a huge fan of Jose Aldo, but he was too tentative. You know, he seems
he was doing the
he seems to look to counter all the time. He landed some good knees out of the clinch. Every time they exchanged, they tended to clinch together, and he landed some good body shots. He should have tried
good 1-2, like hooks to the body in the first round.
But it seemed that that's all he had. Like, he landed it early,
Yeah.
and then he was one-dimensional for the rest of the fight. And Volkanovski timed him every shot, kept his distance. And one thing that surprised me that I liked a lot, because in the past, Volkanovski's been very aggressive. I mean, he'll take some damage, but it doesn't seem to matter. But in this fight, he kept his distance and respected Aldo's striking. And
I think that was the key. He made it so he basically took Aldo out of this fight.
He did.
And that's what was most impressive to me. Like, Aldo is fast.
Yeah.
Like, he is a very fast fighter.
But Volkanovski beat him to the punch almost every time.
It was crazy. Like, it almost seemed like you wasn't watching the real Jose Aldo.
And the diversity of attack by Volkanovski too. I mean, and with pushing him against the cage, wearing you down. Even if he doesn't get you down, he's putting his body on you, grinding on you, and Aldo was out of it.
Yeah, he kind of. I think I said this to you the other night. He kind of was reminding me of Tyrone Woodley. Like, he wanted that one punch, but he was too timid to. It seemed like he was too afraid to go for it, worried about a counter.
He needed more leg kicks. I mean, the clinch did okay for him, like I said, with the knees, but he didn't utilize it. He was trying for that 1-2.
Yeah.
And
yeah, he was just trying to get that
one
punch knockout, and it didn't work out for him at all.
And I'm excited to see who's next in store for Volkanovski.
I wonder who would be next, because I don't think he goes right to Holloway. I think he has one more fight and then gets Holloway. I wonder who that guy would be.
I don't know.
I can't think of.
I don't know who. I think he matches up with anybody well.
Yeah.
You know.
I don't think there's many guys in that division that could beat Volkanovski. I think there's guys who can give him a fight.
Right.
I just don't think that there's anybody beating him.
I'd say look for a number one contenders matchup coming up in that division.
That'll be a good fight to see. So, you heard it here. Volkanovski's in line to get that title shot. Should be seeing Max Holloway within a few pay-per-views. Max Holloway is probably going to need a few months to recover from his, and I think Volkanovski's going to need one more fight before he gets that title shot. So we'll see what happens in the future.
But it could be Max Holloway's next fight.
That's a fight I would love to see.
Even if Volkanovski has to fight again first, I mean, like, it could be Holloway's.
I agree with you. The next fight Holloway fights got to be Volkanovski, and I think maybe Volkanovski might have to fight one more. So, all right. So Volkanovski's the winner, gets it by decision, and then moving on to the what I believe they named as the co-main event: Anderson Silva versus Jared Cannonier. And this was a fight I think we were both excited to see. Unfortunately for everybody, it didn't go the way we would hope it would have gone. And it's always sad to see something like this happen. Anderson Silva taking the shot to the knee and basically ending the fight.
Yeah, he said afterwards, he had an injury in his camp that was plaguing him in his knee. But it makes me wonder. Because being that experienced as he is, being that much of a veteran, and then being at an advanced age, I mean, why fight with an injury against a bone crusher like Cannonier? I mean, like, he hit so hard, and that was not a smart decision. If you ask me, if he was hurt during the camp, to fight like that is silly. And
against a guy like Cannonier.
Right.
I was saying the same thing, like, I find it hard to believe at this point in his career it's for the paycheck.
Right.
Like, and I understand that sometimes, pride is a factor. But, like, this is your life, this is your body, and this is your legacy. And you're not on a hot streak right now. So why go into a fight knowing that people know that, like, your leg has become your weak point?
Yeah.
Since breaking it, your leg is your weak point. People are going to attack it.
Right.
Why step into the octagon knowing that leg is not 100%? To me, that's a disservice to yourself. Mm-hmm. It's a disservice to your fans.
Absolutely.
And in a way, it's kind of a disservice to the guy you're fighting. Because I'm pretty sure Cannonier doesn't want to win with, kicking an injured leg.
Right,
like
and
that.
even a guy like Cannonier, you're fighting a legend. And even at Silva's age, it's still, an incredible moment to face a man like that. And
Because he can still put you down.
Right.
You know, he might not be the best anymore, but he can still put you down.
The type of guy that Cannonier is, I know he wanted the 100% Anderson Silva. And you know, it doesn't feel as good. He wanted the same fight. Definitely doesn't feel as good.
Yeah, he wanted the same fight Israel Adesanya got. Right. You know, a fair matchup against a legend. And I feel like Anderson Silva, in a way, kind of robbed him of that by not calling off the fight.
Because, you know, it seemed to be his game plan, Cannonier. He knew, like you said, that leg they know. And from the jump, he came out, the leg kicks inside, outside, only on that one leg, on his front lead leg. And he would use the kicks, it seemed, to get Anderson biting. And then he would... I seen him throwing some good punch feints.
Yeah.
And then kick feints, and he had him biting on the kicks. He knew he was hurt, you know.
And the one thing I will say is, like, for at least the duration of the fight that went on, like, I was liking Anderson Silva.
I think Anderson looked real crisp and sharp.
Real crisp.
And
I think he was in the best shape we've seen him in a while.
That's why another thing that is kind of confusing me, it's hard to think that he had a plaguing knee injury when he was moving so well before he went down. I mean,
that's a good point.
He was throwing good high kicks. I mean, nice shots to the body. He landed some good liver kicks.
Yeah, it was a good fight.
He threw some high kicks with some impact. I mean, Cannonier blocked him, but you seen him have to back away from it after the block. So, I mean, he was there. I don't know how much he was actually hurt before the fight, but
yeah.
I think I'd like to see him retire.
I would definitely like to see him retire. At the very least, I think maybe hit Bellator where he might have some more success.
Maybe go to Bellator, the one championship, the UFC retirement grounds.
Yeah, and I think that's the best option if he wants to continue fighting.
If he just wants to continue to fight, because like you said, I don't think it's a paycheck, and he just loves to fight.
If he's doing it for a paycheck, what were you doing wrong in your life?
Yeah.
You know. So all right, so the next fight on the card, the main event, the fight we were all waiting for, at least me, I was super excited for it, is Thug Rose Namajunas versus Jessica Andrade. This fight was incredible, and Jessica Andrade takes home the victory, takes home her first UFC championship, and gets the victory done with a second-round slam. And tell me what you think about that fight.
Oh, Thug Rose was great. It's unfortunate for her, but she was incredible. She controlled the fight. It was a second-round KO. Unfortunately, she got slammed, but she was in and out so good throughout the first round and second round, landing punches at will, combinations, 3 shots at a time, landing the right hand without a setup. I mean, it was just incredible.
It was. You know what? I love Thug Rose. I've told you before, I've liked Thug Rose for a long time, but her boxing has seemed to just reach a whole new level.
Absolutely.
I do think that Joanna Jędrzejczyk was a better boxer than Jessica Andrade, but I think Thug Rose's boxing was definitely a level up against Jessica Andrade. Like, she had no answer, but her ability to get in and out and land punches was mind-blowing. And her poise. It looks like nothing to her. Like, she's just in there doing work, and it is what it is.
And having fun.
Yeah.
I mean, she enjoys it, and she did really well. I mean, just Andrade, though, she stuck with it.
Yep.
I mean, she had great heart, great toughness to take the shots.
And the ability to take hits just to get in at least a shot or two.
Absolutely. And, I mean, she was willing to absorb shots to get in close and land some of her power shots, but she just really couldn't get it done.
No.
But she was able to push Rose against the fence here and there, and we know she got good wrestling, good power. Rose, known as a submission fighter, but maybe not great with pure wrestling.
Yes.
And it's real hard to go against a pure wrestler and not get taken down. But Rose is like what we were saying earlier, one of them great scramblers. So every time Andrade would push her against the fence, she was going for that Kimura as a counter to it. And that leads me to the technique of the week for sure.
Technique of the week.
And it's the high crotch hold slam by Jessica Andrade here. And another fighter that uses it great, my man DC.
Yes, love DC.
Only person to throw John Bones Jones around like that with the high crotch.
Remember when he did the Alexander Gustafsson?
Oh my
it was
God.
just like a big old flip, yo.
Yeah. Now see, what Gustafsson did was smart though, and he was able to not get slammed on his head.
Yeah.
Now that leads me to what I'm talking about here. Every time that Andrade likes to press an opponent against the cage, she'll use that single leg, especially against a faster fighter like Rose, to push her back to that cage and then engage the double leg, around under her butt. And Rose was countering every time with a Kimura on the left side. Andrade couldn't do nothing about it. And we seen her get one slam early on, though, but Rose was able to avoid damage.
Basically stuffed it.
Right.
She basically stuffed that slam.
And came right back to her feet.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, there was never any danger. But I got to say hats off to Andrade for noticing that counter to the single leg. And when she did it again, Rose immediately went for the Kimura on that side. And instead of going for a double leg, she broke the grip and immediately went to the high crotch grab around one leg all the way up in between her legs and around her hip on the side.
Yes.
And had her completely locked. Rose immediately went for the Kimura again, but it was far too late because she was already going up in the air.
Yeah.
And the thing that Rose did real wrong was she didn't let it go and ended up falling on her head. If she had let the arm go at that point when she's in the air, she could have turned and landed on her back, avoided a lot of the damage. But
probably would have just absorbed the blow, and it would have been a completely different fight.
But it seemed like she was thinking that it would be like the early on one, and she would absorb it and still land with the arm held and possibly end up with a submission.
Correct.
But it didn't happen. The hold was far too high, perfect high crotch grab, and slammed her down on her head.
And a successful victory. We talked about it before. That is a successful win.
Yeah, there's no fluke wins in this sport, especially on a championship level. I mean, a fighter attempts technique and it comes off and it works, then that's exactly what they meant to do.
And if you're the defender and you make the mistake and allow that move to happen, it's just as much your fault. I remember, it kind of reminds me of the one fight I always think about, and I hate admitting it, but the first Anderson Silva loss when he gets knocked out by
Weidman.
By Weidman, Chris Weidman. And we can all say what I say is if Anderson Silva has his hands up, he doesn't get knocked out, he dominates that fight.
Right.
But it's not up to Chris Weidman to make sure Anderson Silva has his hands up. It's up to Chris Weidman to knock out Anderson Silva. So it was a successful victory. I know at first when that happened, I called it a fluke. But that's just me being angry.
But hats off to Weidman for not letting that mess with his game and sticking to the game plan.
Yeah.
And that's how you win fights. And Andrade did the same thing. She showed great heart, great fortitude. She was clearly getting beat.
Because that's a demoralizing fight.
And not so much the physical damage, but the fact that you can't set up anything that you wanted to do to that opponent is
her patience
completely
was evident.
Demoralizing. And what a way to win.
Yeah, and the thing I love about this victory is that a lot of times you see a victory that's an unexpected victory and you're upset because you don't like the guy who won, you didn't want him to win. But you don't hate Jessica Andrade.
Right.
She's a humble fighter, she's a good fighter, and I think she will be a good champion. How long she remains champion is yet to be seen. But
I'd say
I'm happy for her.
Look for Thug Rose to spring back pretty quick. For this, it was, as we said, she was controlling the fight,
and Jessica probably needs more time to recover.
Absolutely.
Than Thug Rose. It was literally just a one-shot deal.
Yeah.
So she'll need to go through concussion protocol.
And that'll have to be rematched though because of the way she was handling her before that. But like you said, Andrade, hats off to her. It's good to see. Happy for her for winning the belt. I think Thug Rose was the fan favorite, but nobody's mad.
No, you can't be mad at this fight. It was too great, and it had just an incredible ending, an unexpected ending, but a happy ending nonetheless. So all in all, I'm going to give this pay-per-view 2 thumbs up.
Oh, absolutely.
I enjoyed it, especially the pay-per-view side of it. This was definitely a great event, and I look forward to every upcoming event, which brings me to the fact that because of the UFC we're in now, we got events every week.
Right.
So we're always going to have something to talk about. In the upcoming event, I believe it's May 18th, and the headliner is Jose Aldo versus Kevin Lee.
Sorry, Rafael dos Anjos, sorry.
Correction. Rafael
Okay.
dos Anjos. I be forgetting that sometimes. Rafael dos Anjos versus Kevin Lee is the main event, but we're not going to start there. We're going to start right from the bottom. And at the bottom of the fight card, we have Patrick Cummings versus Ed Herman. Now, I don't know much about these fighters, so I think I'm just going to give.
Well, I believe it's Ed Herman. If you remember, I think it's good old Ed Herman from the original Ultimate Fighter.
Oh, Ed Herman.
Another guy who can't seem to stop fighting. You know, he's got a mixed bag of tricks, and he's crafty, and he's a veteran at this point. So
all right.
That'd be cool to see him. And this
is light heavyweight.
He's a personality too.
Oh, is he?
So he's good to see.
Okay.
Yeah, you'd probably remember him. He's orange haired, tattoos. I think it was the original Ultimate Fighter season.
Wow, that's old. All right, so Patrick Cummings, Ed Herman, light heavyweight. Who you got?
I gotta go with Ed Herman.
You're gonna go with Ed Herman. So just to spike the punch, I'm gonna go with Patrick Cummings to see what happens there. Next we have Zach Cummings versus Trevin Giles.
It's like one of them ones that we were talking about earlier. So many people in every division. I mean,
let's decide. It's a middleweight division fight. Who do you think takes it? Zach Cummings, Trevin Giles.
I like Trevin Giles because Trevin is an interesting name.
Trevin is an interesting name, and I'm gonna go Cummings. I got one Cummings. I'm gonna go 2 Cummings. We got the Cummings duo. Sounds weird.
I'm excited to see these guys and show us who they are.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the best part is even for us, we get to see fighters fighting for the first time or see us just getting to see them for the first time, not necessarily their first fight in the UFC. So we still have those exciting moments getting to see new players. It's like, watching football or basketball and seeing the rookies come in.
Yeah.
And so I'm excited to see some of these new fighters. So I got Zach Cummings. He's got Trevin Giles. And then on to the next fight, the welterweight division. We got Danny Roberts versus Michael Pereira. Pereira,
I believe.
I think Pereira is it. So who you got?
I'm going to go with Pereira because I've seen him fight, and he's a good mixed martial artist. Overall game is pretty decent.
Well, I think that I'm just going to spend the day being contrary to you.
Sounds good.
And I know neither one of these guys, so I'm going to run with Daniel Roberts and hope that I pull this one out of my butt. Next we have on the list is Michael Trizano versus Grant Dawson. Two more fighters. I have no idea who they are, but they're the featherweight division, pretty stacked division.
Right, absolutely. I don't know much about either, but I want to see 2 good new featherweights, honestly.
Yes, I would love to see some up-and-coming featherweights.
So it's exciting.
And sometimes in these bottom cards, guys you don't know end up being
they come out of nowhere, and they could be. That's where they come from.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't get your first unless you were a highly touted martial artist from another promotion.
Yeah. Or you're John Jones.
Right.
And you just come in.
You got to be, a world champion kickboxer or a world champion in another MMA event, an MMA promotion to start off on the main card anyway. So
there it is. So Michael Trizano versus Grant Dawson. Who's your pick?
I'll go with Trizano.
All right, Michael Trizano, which will leave me with Grant Dawson. And then the final fight on the undercard is a female fight. I love female fights. I said last week, I'm really liking where the women's divisions are going. They're getting more and more talented. Fights are getting more and more exciting, and there is no definitive just like best anymore, with an exception for Amanda Nunes.
Right.
And that will end eventually as well, just like all things. But we have Megan Anderson versus Felicia Spencer. Now, once again, I don't know either one of these fighters, and since I let you pick all of them first, I'm going to go first.
All right. And
I'm going to say Megan Anderson.
Well, that's a good pick. I'm going to go with the same one because I actually know these two women.
Yes.
And Megan is a great striker. She's super long, tall.
Yes, that's why I liked her.
Keeps her at range, keeps her opponents at range. It's an exciting fight. I think she'll end up getting the win, via maybe a TKO from strikes.
I feel like that's so rare in women's fights.
Spencer really has to get inside and get her hands on her. She is a BJJ black belt, and Megan's only a purple belt, so she has a significant advantage there.
Yes.
So
I found this out is like, when it comes to belts, like whatever the last belt is before black, like all the belts from white to that last belt, whether it's purple or brown or whatever the color is like a breeze. But then the distance between that last belt and the black belt is like a marathon.
Except for Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
Yeah?
Yeah. And depending on the school.
Yeah.
I'm not down in anybody. Some people are giving out belts pretty easy, but if you're in a Gracie system or a Machado system, any of these big styles that were passed down from big families being taught by people, it's taken you years to advance
to the black belts.
But even to your next belt.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Really? Oh, all right.
And that's how it should be.
Yeah. Because I've heard from I think more than one person who's taken say karate or some type of martial arts.
Comparatively, in martial arts, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu was the hardest in belts to advance. Absolutely.
All right, so now on to the main card, and we're going to start off with Davi Ramos versus Austin Hubbard. Once again, these are two fighters I am not exceptionally familiar with, so I will turn to my co-host for some advice.
I'm pretty sure I've seen Ramos fight before. I'm going to have to go with him.
Yeah.
I don't know much about this other guy.
Austin Hubbard.
I
think that this might be like one of his first
I don't even
UFC
recognize
fights.
his name. Could be his debut.
Yeah.
But lightweight, you said?
This is lightweight, correct. And I think if this is his debut fight, I'd like to go with the underdog and throw my hat on Austin Hubbard to take this victory.
I'll have to go with Ramos, yeah.
All right, we'll see who gets it. And then moving on to the next fight, which is a fight that I'm excited to see, and I know my partner is excited to see, is Charles Oliveira versus Nick Lentz. Now, I don't know a lot about Nick Lentz, but I do know a lot about Oliveira, and he is a fighter I love to watch. He's an exciting fighter. He has very good submission, and he is no slouch.
Very good submission might be an understatement. I'd have to say he's, very Damian Maia-esque with his submissions.
We put him that high.
It's with most opponents, with 80% of his opponents, if he gets his hands on you and takes you down, you're going to sleep.
Going to sleep or tapping out.
Yeah. But Nick Lentz, I don't want to take nothing from him. He's a good overall fighter. They actually fought before.
Yeah.
And Oliveira did get the submission win over him.
Wow.
So Lentz is looking for some revenge, and he's much better than he was the first time. But they both improved.
And I love revenge fights, man.
They both improved, so I think this is going to be a high-caliber fight. But I'm looking at Oliveira with another submission victory, probably.
Absolutely pick Oliveira to win this fight. Oliveira is definitely one of my favorite fighters, and I look forward to this fight 100%. And I think we said it before, and I agree with Mike's take on this, that we might even be looking at fight of the night.
Oh, absolutely.
So we'll see what happens. All right, next in the middleweight division, we have Antonio Carlos Jr. versus Ian Hench. And this looks like, from looking at it, it seems like it could be a really good fight. I don't know what to expect. I don't know how much you know about these fighters, but it does seem like it could be a good fight.
Not much. I was looking at it a little bit. I don't know. This is ones that will, I guess, we'll tell you in the recap. You know?
All right. So you heard it. We're gonna know more about these fighters after the recap. But this high up on the card, I'm hoping that they're gonna show us something.
Yeah.
I am gonna take Ian Hench.
You know what? I'm going to go with him as well.
All right. Boom. We agree. Now, for the fight that I'm also really excited about, I don't know if I'm more or less excited about, but I'm going to say I'm more excited about this than even Chris Oliveira. It's Aspen Ladd versus my favorite bantamweight female fighter, Sijara Eubanks. And I've been waiting to see Sijara Eubanks fight in the UFC since she lost her opportunity to fight for the featherweight title.
Right.
And
I don't exactly remember what that was about. Why
she got injured. She had an injury before the fight, and so she wasn't able to fight. And she ended up getting replaced by this girl who also was in the Ultimate Fighter, kind of nerdy girl, wears glasses. But she looks like a nerd. But when you get her in the ring, she's an absolute beast. She did, however, lose that fight. But Sijara Eubanks was supposed to face Montana, and the injury prevented her. But Niko Montana is who she was supposed to fight. But now she gets a chance for her fight in the UFC, hopefully moving her in the direction of title contention.
Absolutely. I think she's fantastic. Great skill set. Don't know about her opponent here.
Me neither.
Quite possibly could be her debut. I don't know. But if it is, she's up against it.
Yeah. And, Sijara Eubanks is a very underestimated fighter. That she was low-ranked when it came to the Ultimate Fighter. She was one of the lower-ranked seeds and ended up being one of the top two. And I think her and Niko were both two of the lower-ranked people, and they ended up being in the finals. And that's what I love about UFC is you never know what someone can do once they enter the ring.
Absolutely.
Once they're in the octagon, it's a whole nother story. So I'm excited for this fight, and I definitely have Sijara Eubanks taking this, and I think it's going to be a knockout, TKO.
I got to agree. Eubanks, maybe second round, maybe even first.
Wow.
It depends on what.
I would like to see a first
Depends
round
on what the other girl has for her. And a first round victory would mean a lot for Eubanks, I think.
All right. So you heard it here. Sijara Eubanks, TKO or KO. Next is a welterweight fight. We had Neil Magny versus Vicente Luque. But Neil Magny, what happened?
Well, apparently he provided a test on May 5th for the pre-fight, and he tested positive for hydroxy LGD 4033.
You all know what that is. We don't have to tell you.
Right. It sounds like probably some kind of weight-cutting agent.
Yeah.
It sounds like something to cut water from your body.
So he gets cut, and who they replace him with?
They replaced him with a MMA veteran, Derrick Krantz. That'll be his UFC debut, but he's got a record of 24-10.
Wow.
With 22 stoppages, which is pretty impressive.
That's hugely impressive.
Right.
22 stoppages. Well, I'm excited to see this fight, especially a fighter coming in on short notice. That's definitely taking on a big responsibility. So with that being said, I think I'll go with Derrick Krantz and say that he'll come in and upset.
He is also on a 4-fight win streak.
Wow.
So I don't know too much about him. I don't know what kind of shape he's in, but this could be a big deal for him. Like I said, it's his debut. It's his debut, and I hope he's ready, and he should just go for it. He obviously got ability to put guys away. He's probably got big power. So Luque, on the other hand, has also got 4 fights in a row and 4 stops in a row at that.
Wow.
1 submission and 3 KOs in his last 4 fights.
That's tough.
All early.
Okay.
I got to go with, I think Luque outlasts the Derrick Krantz because he's only had so much time to be ready for this fight.
Okay.
And probably gets a KO, but I would not be upset if this guy Derrick Krantz made a name for himself on this fight.
Well, I'm excited to see this fight even more so now. Getting some info from my partner here. So Derrick Krantz, Vincent Luque could be an exciting fight. Could be a quick fight. We don't know what's going to happen here. And now on to the main event. Rafael Dos Anjos versus Kevin Lee. And can I tell you why I like this fight? The reason why I like this fight is because these are 2 good fighters who I don't like. So whoever loses is a victory, and whoever wins, I don't really care. I think both these fighters are exceptional.
I think so, too. I think it's a little bit of a weak main event. No offense to either of them. Dos Anjos coming off 2 losses in a row. Kevin Lee coming off a loss, too.
Yeah.
This is Lee's debut at welterweight, though. He's always fought, down at lightweight.
Yeah.
And he's always had a little trouble cutting weight.
Yeah, he has had trouble cutting weight,
So
but
it could be good for him.
He was doing good in lightweight. He had some good
He
victories.
did have good victories.
I wonder how he'll
Just
fare.
that last one against Iaquinta, it wasn't that bad of a loss, honestly. But Kevin Lee, he really is. Kevin Lee is a strong wrestler, explosive. He's not a bad striker.
Yeah.
I mean, I think he likes to get on you and wrestle with you more than anything. And I think his ground and pound is vicious.
Whoa,
it's
terribly vicious.
I think he could stop anybody down there.
What I like about Dos Anjos, though, is I think he can weather storms really well. Like, I mean, there's moments where he's been overwhelmed, but I think he has the ability to weather the storm and then take advantage.
I think so as well. He's a good overall grappler, BJJ black belt. It's different, going against an elite wrestler. But, I think his takedown defense will be a big part in this. He's got good kicks, Dos Anjos especially.
He doesn't fare well against wrestlers,
Right.
as per Eddie. Wait, is it Eddie? No, what was his name? Is it Eddie Alvarez? No.
Yeah.
Is it Eddie Alvarez? Against Eddie Alvarez,
Right.
He just
He
pressed him
was
up
the
against
champion
fence.
until he lost to Eddie Alvarez, and he lost by wrestling. Absolutely.
Yeah.
That is his weak point in his game. Look for Kevin Lee to exploit that for sure. And I think Dos Anjos' best weapons are his kicks to the body and legs, and I mean that might just get him taken down. So
yeah, I think it's going to be Kevin Lee.
I think so too. If Lee doesn't stop him with ground and pound, then I think it'll be a decision.
Yeah. All right. So that's the main card. We have that event. That event's going on May 18th. Make sure you check it out and check us out next week when we give you the
Also
updates.
kind of a cool piece of information, UFC's first time in Rochester, New York on this event. I thought that was kind of interesting.
That is kind of interesting. So they'll be in Rochester, New York, but we'll see what happens with that. And before we leave, there's one more fight I would like to talk about, and that is the surprise knockout of Michael Venom Page. We got a few minutes. We're just going to dive into it a little bit. And I just thought it was incredible because he fought Douglas Lima. And it really did look like a good matchup. It also did look like Venom Page was just, forcing the exchange and maybe even dominating the exchange. And then Douglas Lima with that leg kick uppercut.
He's got a very distinct style, Michael Venom Page, and nobody can, first loss in mixed martial arts, which is a big deal, and in crushing fashion.
Yeah.
And
in a perfect
he just
fashion
happened to
as well.
time that strike incredibly, kicked the leg out.
The kick and strike. I feel like both parts of it were perfectly timed.
The kick just came, Venom likes to bounce in and out.
Yeah.
And when you bounce in and out for a long punch, you ain't got a lot of weight on that front leg, and he kicked it right out from him right when he went for the punch. It was completely timed for sure.
It was beautiful.
But while he was down there, he happened to slip in an uppercut right on his chin somehow, and put him to sleep.
When I watched the replay of that moment, like he kicks out the leg and Michael unknowingly just drops. Like he had no clue this was going to happen.
No control.
And he drops down. And I think one of the problems is his level of confidence in his game made him forget what was going on because he got kicked down and just pushes himself up. And if you watch, like Douglas Lima kicks him and then looks and comes with the just beautiful.
Yeah, I don't even know if he had time to react to that punch. Because he got kicked down to his knees. I guess the best thing for him to do would be to roll to his back.
Yeah,
to avoid the
roll
damage.
away from it.
Right.
Like you should never be getting up in front of a guy.
Standing up straight with your hands on the mat.
Yeah, that's where I think his overconfidence got in the way. A smarter fighter would have rolled away backwards to the side. They would have moved away from that ability to make that contact. But he just comes with just this beautiful cross uppercut across the chin and just sleep.
I think it might be a good thing for Michael Venom Page's career because I think he's overconfident, and I've been wanting to see him come up a level in competition, and I think this could actually make him care, about getting better.
Yeah, and I think I don't know if I do. I feel like I like what he said afterwards was that he contributes the loss to too much success.
Yeah.
Which I do agree with. Sometimes too much success makes you underestimate your opponent's abilities and overestimate your abilities.
Right.
They said that on Game of Thrones, and I liked it, and I'm using it right now because it's a perfect scenario for that. And then it makes you now want to fix that and come out stronger. But sometimes with fighters like him, it makes them more timid.
Yeah.
Instead of wanting to improve, they become more afraid of getting knocked out.
Right. Improvement is the name of the game in martial arts. It always will be.
Yeah.
You have to get better.
So let's hope that Michael Venom Page improves and comes back from this knockout as an even better fighter, maybe get a rematch against this guy. It sucks that he loses it. It was a tournament for $1 million.
Yes, it was.
I'd like to see the UFC try something like that, a little tournament style.
Wouldn't be bad.
That wouldn't be cool. And you know, I think we talked about this once real quick before we go, is I think the UFC needs to line up the pay-per-view of all pay-per-views.
Yes.
Every
Night
fight.
of champions.
A night of champions. We literally have the amount of divisions that could fight in every level throughout every fight. There's usually 5 fights in the main card, 5 fights in the prelim, 2 fights in the fight pass.
Yeah.
That's 12 fights. There's 12 divisions in the UFC.
And just if it's too much, charge us for it, UFC. We'll pay.
Yeah, $100 for
Serious.
the UFC pay-per-view. I'll pay to see a night of championships.
We would pay.
Yeah, we will pay for that. I'd maybe even pay $120.
I'd pay $1,000 for a ticket to the live show. Come on.
I mean, I would if I had $1,000.
To a night of champions?
Yeah, I would probably pay that. Well, that is all the time we have for you today. So make sure you check us out. We don't have a time slot for you yet for watching us on TV, but you can check us out on YouTube. You can go to Gym Bag, that's one word, Gym Bag Entertainment, and check out our shows. We have Tail of the Tape, we have the End Zone, and we have the Flex. So make sure you're checking us out every week. And until then, we will see you in the Octagon. So have a good night. I'm Craig. This is Mike, and I will see you next week.
That's how we do.